This video accompanies the discussion we had in class on the movie 12 Angry Men and how it can inform our understanding of facts, inferences, and assumptions. You know, this is such an old movie and so frequently taught, maybe even over-taught, I stopped teaching it for a while until I served on a jury where it gained a special meaning for me. Later on I'll talk about how facts can shed light on other facts, but it was funny how the experience of serving on a jury in 2008 actually changed my feelings about this movie and using this movie for class. So let's think about the movie itself. Here's Lee Cobb pointing his angry finger and saying very loudly what he thinks. A very interesting sort of character. If you haven't seen this movie, it's worth taking a look at again, or for the first time. That's why they call them classics. The things that can interfere with a discussion about the facts, or even thinking about the facts, can involve the experiences that we've had beforehand. You get the Lee Cobb character, who is this fellow who has his own business, but who's fallen out with his son, and he keeps generalizing about kids today. He's certainly got some attitudes about kids today, and I won't give away all of the movie, but the point is that everything is shaped by the early experiences that he has with his own boy, who's now no longer living with him or even in communication with him, judging from what he says in the movie. The other things that can be the experiences which help form or shape our understanding of facts, inferences, assumptions can include any experiences that we have beforehand, from whether we grew up in slums, whether we play baseball or watch baseball, or we're a fan or not, but even down to the idea of having a discussion and what we expect. The very basic assumptions that we have about living and moving in the world really do inform the way that we think about the facts that we encounter. And that's really borne out by the way the video demonstrates this. Now, there are other videos that do this, but this one I think is more interesting actually for the interactions between people. I think there's a real truth at work between the jurors and how they interact with each other and how they display or really present themselves. Other things that can interfere with a discussion of the facts, there can be a lack of analysis. And you'll hear me say this time and again in class. For this assignment, you really do have to analyze. You have to take a look at what the problem was. It can't be like two members of the juror, one of them at the very end of the table there, who says, I don't know, I just think he's guilty. Or I don't know, I just think he's innocent. If you don't know, the point is to actually investigate and figure out why. If you're thinking something, why are you thinking it? In this particular assignment, we're trying to understand and dig a little deeper into why we think what we do, and not just throw up our hands. When we throw up our hands, there's a lack of analysis. We don't need to analyze everything in our lives, but for this paper, we have to show that we can do it when called upon. There can be things that interfere with the discussion of the facts, including feelings. And they're all over the case in this particular discussion. They were on my jury, when I served on a jury. Among each juror, there were feelings about being there. Some of them boredom, some of them impatience, some of them frustration, some of them anger. Here's the foreman saying, boy, I don't care what you do, throwing up his hands and really dismissing the architect during a point in the trial. I think we can relate to that. We're in the midst of a discussion, and we kind of just throw up our hands, we want to give up. It's not only a lack of analysis, but those feelings can totally interfere with what's actually going on in the trial. There are extreme cases, of course, when you take a situation like the bigot, but I even think the ordinary plain Jane experiences of just being bored, feeling a little aggrieved or put upon, or conversely, feeling like you want to engage with people or talk something out. Those feelings can help shape how we discuss facts and inferences. Other things. Of course, we talked in a previous video and in class about the social pressures that can influence facts. Whether it seems like everyone's teaming up on another person. You have in this presentation one holdout and everybody teaming up on him, everybody going around the table and explaining where he's wrong. And you also have one holdout at the very end, Lee Cobb, who, without giving too much away, is a person who has to justify himself. But boy, the change in situation. It's not the case where they're all trying to pick on him. They want to hear his case. They want to understand what he thinks and why. The social pressures at work in films such as this, or in examples such as this, I think are really palpable and tangible. I think they're the most real part of a video like this, as opposed to maybe the decision at the end that the jury makes. That's why I guess I connected with it so well. New facts can shed light on other facts, such as the knife being brought into the jury, the second knife, which gets mistaken for the first knife. Facts can shed light on other facts. When I was on a jury, the fact of my serving on a jury shed light on this old story. And I started using it in class in my long years of teaching because it demonstrated a truth about human interaction in spite of the fact that they were white men sitting around a table talking. I think that there's a universal truth really hidden in it, and my experience on a jury that was very mixed, different colors, creeds, genders, all on my jury, still shed a light on this very old story and illuminated a truth that was there. But you can just go back to the knife in the story, or you can go back to other facts in the story that shed light on other facts, such as where the old man was and how he got to the door and what he saw or what the woman across the way saw when she's looking at the suspect or the defendant, I should say. Other things that influence or interfere with the discussion of the facts, and no small things too, the very language that we use. It's in a language class, so I really have to emphasize this. Could find countless examples really about how the language could be stilted or could be presented more fairly. The language that we choose oftentimes implies a kind of inference and assumption that something's based on. That's why factual statements that we write as we practice in class could sound boring. Remember, Agassiz tells us that facts are boring things until brought together. And so when the language is a little bit more interesting, sometimes it can demonstrate an assumption or an inference at work, such as in the case of, let's go around the table and tell this guy where he's wrong or mixed up. Talk about how the language shapes the way that these jurors respond to that. I grew up in this family where you sit and say, let's go around the table and tell where this guy's mixed up. The language oftentimes shaped experience. And so too with this particular jury. Some other statements that I think are interesting. The language that's here. He's twisting the facts every which way. Well, without giving too much away. He's not really twisting facts so much as he's seeing what the facts can say and what they can't say. He's not, for example, twisting the facts to mean absolutely that this boy is guilty. This suspect, this defendant, is guilty. That's not really what he's twisting in them to say. He's trying to understand what they actually do mean. It's the other people in the jury, especially the people who want to convict, who are twisting the facts. Or how about the language, you can't prove he didn't do it? One particular aspect of this video that I like is that we have to take a look at the jury, to take a look at the facts of the jury, including how actors talk to each other, but also how they even appear, the facial expressions that they have, the nonverbals that they have, to determine what actually the facts were in the court, because we never see the court, at least not very much, and that the facts of the court illuminated the facts of the murder. And so really we're at 3 steps removed, having to judge something that happened quite a while ago based on the facts that are presented right before us. People who have only heard what actually happened. There's a special scene in the movie where an old man on the jury comments on another old man who was a witness. It's an especially poignant scene. Usually my students point it out right away. They're taking a look at an old man very close up and seeing what he has to say, and he's commenting on another old man, and he's explaining why an old man would have heard or saw something, or said he heard and said he saw something. And another juror, the bigot, turns to him and says, "Oh, what do you know?" And of course the old man has just been discounted, just like an old man on a jury. It's funny when the jurors actually seek to try to understand versus when they're dismissive of facts, even the facts that they bring in of their own experiences. Here's a case where the old man brings in experiences that can actually shed light on what's going on in the courtroom, versus Lee Cobb, the earlier loud juror who wants to convict so badly, in part because of his previous experiences being a father. More on language. I began to get a peculiar feeling about the case. Do you remember back when we did observation description? And we were thinking about how feelings sometimes can lead us to actual facts. It is a fact that the architect felt peculiar about the case. Nothing seemed to be that sure, he says. Well, that's, again, an important fact. He has suspicions, and he wants to see where they lead. It is a fact that he has the suspicions, though, more importantly, they lead him to other verifiable facts. Or the architect says, I try to put myself in his shoes. Talk about trying to not remove your own experiences, but to really understand another person's experiences, which is not what everyone does on that jury. Or the whole discussion on the jury about whether you think so or you know so. Do you think he did this? Do you think he could have done that? Do you know he could have done that? And of course, when there's the exchange of this, the advertising executive says, nobody can know a thing like that. Does it matter whether he said he was hit by his father, slapped, punched? The words mattered, don't they? Sure they do. The word choice that you use matters. Coincidence is possible, not probable. Or the immigrant to the country saying, maybe you don't know what reasonable doubt means, or guilty, or not guilty, or innocent, all different, really. When you say you're going to kill someone, does that really mean you're going to kill them? Did it mean that when the father says it about the architect? I'm going to kill you, he says. Or it depends upon your definition of panic. This discussion of language should really lead us to delight in understanding language, not to frustration. If you ever have a discussion where someone says, well, it's all semantics, my response to that is, well, it's all semantics, and to get excited about the possibilities of discussing what the words actually mean. Come back to a central slide that I've used before in my videos and that I'll have talked about in class. We're trying to take a look at potential pitfalls or things that affect how we deal with facts. And they can include assumptions and inferences that we make. We want to separate out the things that are fact from non-fact. We want to make sure that we're taking into account all the relevant facts, whether we're looking broadly enough or the facts being all in. We want to make sure that we have as many as we need. And lastly, the pressures and barriers to seeing facts, about which we've tried to talk about in this video, which can include our society, our environment, the powers of observations, just to name a few. One of the best parts about this particular video is you get to see how people do see and don't see something on a jury, and they can remember something that they saw, and then they don't remember something that they saw, including down to the various indentations made in the nose of one witness.